Self-coddling, the habit of making a bid for sympathy, using imaginary illness for the lure. People often resort to this trick to avoid work. The habit of feigning illness to cover planned laziness or to serve as an alibi for lack of ambition. Intemperance, the habit of using alcohol or narcotics to destroy pain, such as headache, neuralgia, etc., instead of eliminating the cause. The habit of reading about illness and worrying over the possibility of being stricken by it. The habit of reading patent medicine advertisement. The fear of loss of love. The original source of this inherent fear needs but little description because it obviously grew out of man's polygamous habit of stealing his fellow man mate and his habit of taking liberties with her wherever he could. Jealousy and the other familiar forms of dementia precox grow out of men's inherent fear of the loss of love of someone. This fear is the most painful of all the six basic fear. It's probably play more havoc with the body and mind than any of the other basic fear, as it often leads to permanent insanity. The fear of loss of love probably dates back to the Stone Age when men stole women by brute force. They continue to steal females, but their technique has changed. Instead of force, they now use persuasion, the promise of pretty clothes, motor cars, and other baits much more effective than physical force. Man habits are the same as they were at the dawn of civilization, but he expresses them differently. Carefully analyzes has shown that women are more susceptible to this fear than men. This fact is easily explained. Women have learned from experience that men are polygamous by nature, that they are not to be trusted in the hands of rivals. Symptoms of the fear of loss of love. The distinguished symptoms of this fear are jealousy, the habit of being suspicious of friends and loved ones without any reasonable evidence of sufficient ground. Jealousy is the form of dementia precox which sometimes become violent without the slightest cause. The habit of accusing wife or husband of infidelity without grounds, general suspicions, the general suspicion of everyone, absolute faith in no one. Fault finding, the habit of finding fault with friends, relatives, business associates, loved ones upon the slightest provocation or without any cause whatsoever. Gambling, the habit of gambling is stealing, cheating, and otherwise taking hazardous chance to provide money for loved ones with the belief that love can be bought. The habit of spending beyond one's means or incurring debts to provide gifts for loved ones with the object of making favorable showing. Insomnia, nervousness, lack of persistence, weakness of will, lack of self control, lack of self reliance, bad temper. The fear of old age. In the main, this fear grows out of two sources. First, the thought that old age may bring with it poverty. Secondly, by fear, the most common source of origin from false and cruel technique of the past, which have been too well mixed with fire and brimstone and other bogies cunningly designed to enslave men through fear. In the best fear of old age, man has two very sound reasons for this apprehension. One growing out of his distrust of his fellow men who may seize whatever worldly goods he may possess, and the other arising from the terrible pictures of the world beyond which were planted in his mind through social heredity before he came into full possession of his mind. The possibility of ill health, which is more common as people grow older, is also a contributing cause of this common fear of old age. Erotism also enters into the cause of the fear of old age, as no man crushes the thought of diminishing sex attraction. The most common cause of fear of old age is associated with the possibility of poverty. Poor house is not a pretty word. It throws a chill into the mind of every person who faces the possibility of having to spend his declining years on a poor farm. Another contributing cause of the fear of old age is the possibility of loss of freedom and independence, as old age may brings with it the loss of both physical and economic freedom. Symptoms of the fear of old age. The common symptoms of this fear are the tendency to slow down and develop an inferiority complex at the age of mental maturity around the age of 40, false believing oneself to be slipping because of age. The truth is that man's most useful years mentally and spiritually are those between 40 and 60. The habit of speaking apologetically of oneself as being old merely because one has reached the age of 40 or 50 instead of reversing the rule and expressing gratitude for having reached the age of wisdom and understanding. The habit of killing of initiative, imagination, and self reliance by falsely believing oneself too old to exercise these qualities, the habit of the man or woman or 40 dressing with the aim of trying to appear much younger and affecting mannerism of youth, thereby inspiring ridicule by both friends and stranger. The fear of that. To some, this is the cruelest of all the basic fear. The reason is obvious. The travel pint of fear associated with the thought of that in the majority of cases may be charged directly to religious fanatism. So-called heathen are less afraid of death than the more civilized. For hundreds of millions of years men have been asking the still unanswered question: whence and whither, where did I come from, and where I am going. During the darker age of the past, the more cunning and crafty were not slow to offer the answer to this question. For the prize witness now the major source of origin of the fear of death. Come into my tent, embrace my faith, accept my dogmas, and I will give you a ticket that will admit you straight away into heaven when you die. Cries a leader of sectarism, remain out of my tent, say the same leader, and may the devil take you and burn you throughout eternity. Eternity is a long time. Fire is terrible thing. The thought of eternal punishment with fire not only cause man to fear that, it often cause him to lose his reason. It destroy interest in life and make happiness impossible. During my research, I review a book entitled A Catalogue of the Gods, in which were listed the 30,000 gods which man has worshipped. Think of it, 30,000 of them represented by everything from a crawfish to a man. It is a little wonder that men have become frightened at the approach of that. While the religious leaders may not be able to provide safe conduct into heaven, nor by lack of such provision allow the unfortunate to descend into hell, the possibility of latter seems too terrible that the very thought of it lays hold the imagination in such a realistic way that it paralyzes reason and set up the fear of death. In truth, no man knows and no man have ever knows what heavens or hell is like, nor does any man knows if either place actually exists. This very lack of positive knowledge opens the door of the human mind to the charlatan, so he may enters and control the mind, that mind with his stock of legerdemain and various brands of pies, frauds, and trickery. The fear of that is not as common now it was during the age when there were no great colleagues and universities. Men of science have turned the spotlight of truth upon the world, and this truth is rapidly freeing men and women from this terrible fear of that. The young man and young women who attend the college and university are not easily impressed by fire and brimstone through the aid of biology, astronomy, geology, and other related science. The fear of the dark ages, which gripped the minds of men and destroyed their reason, have been dispelled. Insane asylum are filled with men and women who have gone mad because of the fear of death. This fear is useless. That will come no matter what anyone may think about it. Accept it as a necessity and pass the thought out of your mind. It must be a necessity or it would not come to all. Perhaps it is not as bad as it has been pictured. The entire world is made up of only two things, energy and matter. In elementary physics, we learn the neither matter nor energy, the only two realities known to man, can be created nor destroyed. Both matters and energy can be transformed, but either can be destroyed. Life is energy, it is if it is anything, if neither energy nor matter can be destroyed, of course life cannot be destroyed. Life, like other form of energy, may be passed through various process of transitions or change, but it cannot be destroyed. That is mere transition. If that is not mere change or transition, then nothing comes after that except a long eternal peaceful sleep, and sleep is nothing to be feared. Thus, you may wipe out forever the fear of death. Symptoms of the fear of death. The general symptoms of this fear are the habit of thinking about dying instead of making the most of life due generally to lack of purpose or lack of suitable occupation. This fear is more prevalent among the age, but sometimes the more youthful are victims of it. The greatest of all remedies for the fear of death is a burning desire for achievement, back up useful service to others. A busy person seldom has time to think about dying. He finds life too thrilling to worry about that. Sometimes the fear of death is closely associated with the fear of poverty, where ones that would leave loved ones. Poverty is striking. In other cases, the fear of death is caused by illness and consequent breaking down of physical body resistance. The commonest cause of the fear of death are ill health, poverty, lack of appropriate occupation, disappointment over love, insanity, religious phantasm. Old men worry. Worry is a state of mind based upon fear. It works slowly but persistently. It is insidious and subtle. Step by step, it digs itself in until it paralyzes one's reasoning faculty, destroys self confidence and initiative. Worry is a form of sustained fear caused by indecision. Therefore, it is a state of mind which can be controlled. An unsettled mind is helpless in decision making. An unsettled mind, most individuals lack the willpower to reach decision promptly and to stand by them after they have been made. Even during normally business condition, during periods of economic unrest such as the world recently experienced, the individual is handicapped not alone by his inherent nature to be slow at reaching decision, but he is influenced by the indecision of others around him who have created a state of mass indecision. During the Depression, the whole atmosphere all over the world was filled with Farinza and Veritas, the two mental disease germs which began to spread themselves after the Wall Street frenzy in 1929. There is only one known antidote for these germs. It is the habit of prompt and firm decision. Moreover, it is an antidote which every individual must apply for himself. We do not worry over condition once we have reached a decision to follow a definite line of action. I once interviewed a man who was to be electrocuted 2 hours later. The condemned man was the calmest of some 8 men who were in the death cell. With him, his calmness prompted me to ask him how it felt to know that he was going into eternity in a short while. With a smile of confidence on his face, he said, "It feels fine. Just think, brother, my troubles will soon be over. I have had nothing but troubles all my life. It has been a hardship to get food and clothing. Soon I will not need these things. I have felt fine ever since I learned for certain that I must die. I made up my mind then to accept my fate in good spirit." As he spoke, he devoured a dinner of proportion sufficient for 3 men, eating every mouthful of the food brought to him, and apparently enjoying it as much as if no disaster awaited him. Decision gave him man resignation to his fate. Decision can also prevent one acceptance of under circumstance. The six basic fears become translated into the state of worry through indecision. Relieve yourself forever of the fear of death by reaching a decision to accept that as an inescapable event. Wipe the fear of poverty by reaching a decision to get along with whatever wealth you can accumulate without worry. Put your foot up the neck of the fear of criticism by reaching a decision not to worry about what other people think, do, or say. Eliminate the fear of old age by reaching a decision to accept it not as an handicap but as great blessings which carries with it wisdom, self control, and understanding not known to youth. Acquit yourself of the fear of ill health by the decision to forget symptoms. Master the fear of loss of love by reaching a decision to get along without love if that is necessary. Kill the habit of worry at all its form by reaching a general blanket decision that nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry. With this decision will come poise, peace of mind, and calmness of thought, which will bring happiness. A man whose mind is filled with the fear not only destroy his own chance of intelligent action, but he transmits these destructive vibrations to the minds of all who come into contact with him and destroy also their chances. Even a dog or a horse knows when its master lacks courage. Moreover, a dog or a horse will pick up the vibration of fear thrown off by its master and behave accordingly. Lower down the line of intelligence in the animal kingdom, one finds this same capacity to pick up the vibration of fear. A honeybee immediately sends fear in the mind of a person for a reason unknown. A bee will sting the person whose mind is releasing vibration of fear much more readily than it will molest the person whose mind registers no fear. The vibration of fear passes from one mind to another just as quickly and as surely as the sound of the human voice passes from the broadcasting station to the receiving side of radio and by the self same medium. Mental telepathy is a reality through pass from one mind to another voluntarily, whether or not this fact is recognized by either the person releasing the thoughts or the person who picks up those thoughts. The person who give expression by words of mouth to negative or destructive true, it's practically certain to experience the result of those words in the form of destructive kickback. The release of destructive thoughts impulse alone without the aid kickback in more ways than one. First of all, and perhaps more important to be remembered, the person who released thoughts of a destructive nature must suffer damage through the breaking down of the faculty of creative imagination. Secondly, the presence in the mind of any destructive emotions develop a negative personality which repels people and often converts them into an antagonist. The third source of damage to the person who entertain or release negative thoughts lies in this significant fact. These thought impulses are not only damaging to others, but they embed themselves in the subconscious mind of the person releasing them, and there becomes a part of his character. One is a never through with a thought merely by releasing it. When a thought is released, it spreads in every direction through the medium of the ether, but it also plant itself permanently in the subconscious mind of the person releasing it. Your business in life is presumably to achieve success. To be successful, you must find peace of mind, acquire the material need of life, and above all, attain happiness. All of these evidence of success begins in the form of thoughts, impulses. You may control your own mind. You have the power to feed it whatever thought impulses you choose. With this privilege goes also the responsibility of using it constructively. You are the master of your own earthly destiny just as surely as you have the power to control your own thoughts. You may influence, direct, and eventually control your own environment, making your life what you want to be, or you may neglect to exercise the privilege which is yours to make your life to order, thus casting yourself upon the broad sea of circumstance where you will be tossed hit, hither and you like yawn like a chip on the waves of the ocean. The Devil's Workshop, the seventh basic evil. In addition to the six basic fears, there is another evil by which people suffer. In constitutes a rich soul in which the seeds of failure grow abundantly. It is so subtle that its presence often is not detected. This affliction cannot properly be classed as a fear. It is more deeply seated and more often fatal than all of the six fear, for want of a better name. Let us call this evil susceptibility of negative influence. Men who accumulate great riches always protect themselves against this evil. The poverty stricken never do. Those who succeed in any calling must prepare their minds to resist the evil. If you are reading this philosophy for the purpose of accumulating riches, you should examine yourself every carefully to determine whether you are susceptible to negative influence. If you neglect this self-analysis, you will forfeit your right to attain the object of your desire. Make the analysis searching after you read the questions prepared for this self-analysis. Hold yourself to a strict accounting in your answer. Go to go at the tasks as carefully as you would search for any other enemy you you knew to be awaiting you in ambush, and deal with your own faults as you would with more tangible enemy. You can easily protect yourself against highway robbers because the law provide against corporation for your benefit, but the seventh basic evil is more difficult to master because it strikes when you are not aware of the presence, when you are asleep, while you are awake. Moreover, its weapon is intangible because it consists of merely a state of mind. This evil is also dangerous because it strikes in a many different form as there are human experience. Sometimes it enters the mind through the well-meant words of one's own relatives. At other times it bores from within through one's own mental attitude. Always it is deadly as poison, even though it may not kill as quickly. How to protect yourself against negative influence? To protect yourself against negative influence, whether of your own making or the result of activities of negative people around you. Recognize that you have a willpower and put it into constant use until it builds a wall of immunity against negative influence in your own mind. Recognize the fact that you and every other human being are by nature lazy, indifferent, and susceptible to all suggestions which harmonize with your weakness. Recognize that you are by nature susceptible to all the six basic fear and set up habits for the purpose of counteracting all these fears. Recognize the negative influence often work on your through your subconscious mind. Therefore, they are difficult to detect and keep your mind closed against all people who depress or discourage you in any way. Clean out your medicine chest, throw away all pill bottles, and stop pondering to cold, act, pains, and imaginary illness. Deliberately seek the company of people who influence you to think and act for yourself. Do not expect trouble, as they have a tendency not to disappoint. Without doubt, the most common weakness of all human beings is the habit of leaving their mind open the negative influence of other people. This weakness is all the most damaging because most people do not recognize that they are cursed by it, and many who acknowledge it neglect or refuse to correct the evil until it becomes an uncontrollable part of their daily habit. To aid those who wish to see themselves as they really are, the following list of questions has been prepared. Read the questions and state your answers aloud so you can hear your own voice. This will make it easier for you to be truthful with yourself.